for one more person to pop up on stage before we start the LinkedIn Live. Just bear with us. Okay, so we're just going to start the LinkedIn audio. I think everybody's coming in the room. Danilo, I believe, is running a little bit late and behind, but I think let's proceed. It's 5:03. I just want to welcome everybody coming on to this LinkedIn Live. We had a little bit of hiccup last time, so we're really excited to run this again with Friska and Cara. Hopefully Danilo can jump on, hosted by Prashant and myself. So the topic today is navigating the changing landscape of technology and the business world of digital transformation. And we've got Friska and Cara on stage at the moment. So I usually like to go around the room and get a bit of an introduction of everybody who's on stage. So I'll start with Friska. If you just want to quickly just jump in and give an introduction of who Friska is, what are you currently up to, and what's your current role at the moment?
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. I'm Friska. I'm a change management consultant, speaker, and facilitator. So I help bring digital transformation to life for some of the world's largest organizations. So this means driving adoption of new and emerging tech solutions. I'm most known for my work in the mining, engineering, and oil and gas industries. So I was previously the head of change at Newcrest Mining. They're the biggest gold miner in the Southern Hemisphere, where we were able to achieve $120 million cost saving just by using predictive algorithms and AI and machine learning tools. What am I up to now? So my calendar is getting quite busy with bespoke leadership offsite facilitation. So specifically digital strategy, the people side of digital transformation, improving workplace culture. So facilitating bespoke leadership offsites. I'm also in the process of developing a digital transformation game focused on the people side of change. Thanks. I'll pass you on to Cara.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Friska. Just love your introduction, and it's wonderful to be here again with you. So my name is Cara Antoine. I am based in the Netherlands, and I'm a woman in tech. So I have spent my entire career in the space of tech and transformation, which now today we really refer to as digital transformation. You find me really working in the space of how we can leverage the human and humanity in technology. So I focus a lot on sustainability these days, and also in the healthcare space, where I've had some personal experiences of how medical technologies have really changed, improved, and saved my life. And so I operate in these two areas. I am currently on the last day of a holiday. I've spent the month of February enjoying myself and visiting my parents. And tomorrow I'm starting on a new adventure. I'll be joining Capgemini in the role of Executive Vice President and Chief Technology and Innovation Officer. So I'm very excited to start this next new chapter of my career and to be joining Capgemini in a global role. And it's wonderful to be here today and to wake my brain up at 7 a.m. here, Belinda, in the Netherlands today.
Thank you so much for being on stage. I really appreciate that, 7 a.m. I hope you're an early person.
Not usually.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and jumping up so early. So I want to just run through the questions that we've got. I think we've got a mixture of a few new questions from last, and I think a little bit of the last old ones we run with. And I just want to really just open up the stage as well to Friska and Cara. If there's anything that you guys want to discuss that's coming up in the digital transformation world or technology world that you would like to talk about, please feel free, to take over the stage and talk about that. This stage is obviously for you guys to showcase what's happening in the world of Friska and Cara in the digital transformation. So please feel free to do that. I will get P to just quickly jump on if you can and just go and roll with the questions. Usually when we run through the questions, guys, halfway through the session, so around 5:30 AEST time, so Australian Eastern Standard Time, we then get everybody to jump up. Whoever wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. So halfway through this session, we will bring people up on stage to give them time to ask questions to Friska and Cara. So I appreciate everyone for being in the room today. P, did you want to jump in and start the questions?
Sure. Thanks, B. So Friska and Cara, thanks again for coming on the show. I just wanted to quickly ask, now digital transformation term, although we all understand it on a high level, is very confusing. People say digital transformation to so many things. So I just want to hear from both of you, what is digital transformation from your point of view? What do you describe as a digital transformation?
Okay, I'll go first. For me, digital transformation has to consist of 3 elements. And it's not just the use and the capability to use new and emerging technology effectively. That's just one. The second is a complete reimagining of how a business operates using technology. That is number 2. So it's not simply, oh, here's a manual process, we're automating it. That's not digital transformation. That's really a glacial evolution. So it's a reimagining. And last but not least, it combines a structured change methodology to get people used to doing things differently, to be more innovative, be more co-creative, and it needs to have change leadership at the helm. A company cannot truly digital transform into what's needed tomorrow if they're filled with managers who think the same as they did yesterday. So that's my definition of digital transformation. Thanks, Prashant.
You and Dr. Cara?
Yeah, thanks, Friska and Prashant. So to build on that, I think there's a really great points from Friska because we know that the digital transformation is rapidly changing the way businesses operate, right? And Friska gave already a couple of great examples in that space. I think that we also can take into consideration the customer's expectations. So when we look at the rise of digital technologies, customers expect a seamless and really personalized experience from businesses. And I think that this pushes us to adopt digital tools and different platforms that are going to help meet those expectations and improve the customer engagement. If there's one thing that we all strive is to delight the customer in their experience with us. We also could be thinking about the competitive pressures. Of course, everyone's in the race. And I like to say, if your business has not gone digital yet, it will. It's a highly competitive marketplace. Businesses have to continuously innovate in order to stay ahead of this curve. And so I think it's really seen as a way to gain competitive advantage and stay ahead of the competition. Well, Friska touched on this a little bit as well, but it's the rate of technology and how that's accelerating and advancing right now. So artificial intelligence, I think the big thing right now we're all looking at is ChatGPT and how that's going to evolve. Big data analytics, cloud computing and hybrid, Internet of Things, of course, all driving the customer and the business to adopt new tools, digital tools, and improve really how they work. So the efficiencies and driving innovation. And then I think there's another area, which is the data-driven decision making. So we have the access to data, and the question really is this abundance of data that's being generated by digital tech. it's providing us with new insights. And I think here, one of the biggest questions that I get from CEOs is, well, where do we start, and what data do we really need to collect? Because just because we have it doesn't mean we need to use it all. And that's really helping to get more focused around how to adopt those data-driven decision-making processes to stay ahead of the competition. And I think that's also coupled with how we get an outcome with a sustainable mindset. So what we really see is the evolution of leveraging digital technologies to accelerate the way we can create a much more sustainable global commons and future for the world. So those are some of the key areas that I also think are important when we talk about digital transformation in businesses today.
Thank you so much, Cara, for that. I really appreciate your answer there. I wanted to just jump on what you mentioned about ChatGPT and where that's going. And I think it's such an interesting conversation to have, especially for a lot of businesses, talking about it. A lot of the communities and startup world are talking about it and where that's going. I'd love to get your thoughts. And again, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but also on topic. And it's not the questions that we had written down, but it was just really interesting what you mentioned. So I'd love to get you to elaborate on that a little bit. Where do you see that going in terms of AI getting implemented into businesses today? And is that something that businesses should be doing now?
Yeah, Belinda, I think that's a great question, and one that we don't have a whole lot of answers to yet. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to be joining as an ambassador for Web3 on a gala in a metaverse. So I think this is also interesting to start to learn the new terminologies and how we talk about things. I've heard a lot of people talk about the metaverse, and actually the metaverse doesn't exist yet. The metaverse is actually a grouping of several metaverses. And so when we are hosting events, into the future and even already today, we're actually working within the space of a metaverse. And so we have to start to learn, first of all, the new language of ChatGPT, where that's come from, the brilliant team at OpenAI that has enabled this capability, also with some hesitation. Because again, I think, as I mentioned, the power, potential power that ChatGPT can offer to the world is something that we want to use for good and in a positive way. I think when we look at the AI space, there are a few things that this is going to help us with. I think above all is this enhanced customer experience with these AI-powered the chatbots, if you want to call them virtual assistants, that can really provide us with immediate answers to our questions. And of course, as I think we all know, this natural language capability that ChatGPT offers, that's just going to be incredible in terms of improving customer experiences and even reducing the need for the human customer service representatives in a way. I think we're going to start to see many companies incorporating the ChatGPT into their own algorithms and into their own platforms. If we look at what Microsoft is working on right now already, they're looking at ways to incorporate it into the Bing search engine. And so that's already something that's going to, I think, accelerate their development in the space of AI. The personalization and customization possibilities through artificial intelligence and machine learning. I think here we can really analyze customer data to personalize those experiences. So it really improving the customer engagement. If we think about why customers want to engage, is because they feel like they're being heard. So, they're not going to listen to us as companies until they feel like they're being listened to. So I think this really is an opportunity that we will continue to see an acceleration that will result in increased customer loyalty and improved customer satisfaction, because as we can demonstrate to the customer that we really know them well, they're going to want to engage and interact with us more and more. Of course, we can talk about productivity. We can talk about improved accuracy and efficiency. But I think first, for me, I'm customer obsessed, so I would really put those two, areas, I think, Linda, at the top of my response in terms of how I see some of the new opportunities with ChatGPT and AI going forward. And still so much more to learn.
So much to learn. I feel like we've just kind of started and scraped the surface of it. So it's really exciting times. I'm excited to see this through. Friska, I'd love to hear your thoughts on ChatGPT and where AI is going and what your thoughts are with businesses and how they should start implementing that.
Yeah. The attention that's on ChatGPT, I mean, I think it was just 3 months ago that Lensa was really hot with all the magic avatars. And, it brought up issues of privacy, ethics, consent. But here's the thing that no one realizes. The world is in flux. There are more unknowns than knowns. It's rocky, it's turbulent, it's complex. I mean, there's fears of a recession, crescendoing around the globe. The point I want to make is that if we want to survive the storm, we can't just cling to the safety raft of the familiar. We need to try stuff. We need to explore. We need to experiment. Sometimes we'll fail, but we will learn. We need to change. So, a lot of people are getting up in arms about originality. But I think we need to change our mindset because the tightly held doors of design, of writing, of research and information, they've been blasted open for everybody. So leading in the future, it needs more of a crusader's mindset. And this means the willingness to explore, to be uncomfortable, to go against the grain and make a few tumbles while we're learning something new. So I think at the end of the day, these are tools, and the tool is only as powerful as the people that use it. So I don't think they will replace people, right? Just like a piano doesn't turn you into a Beethoven, using ChatGPT doesn't turn you into a best-selling author. It's just yet another tool to help you do your job faster, better, and more efficient. And, these sort of tools do generate, they call them insight tools, but they don't generate insights. They generate numbers. And it's the role of humans, and specifically the trait of human empathy, to turn those numbers into something actionable. So I think there is a gap where, very hard to mimic human capabilities, like empathy, like communicating across cultures. This is crucial. And ChatGPT and tools like Lensa AI don't do that.
So now, Friska, I want to take conversation a little back to digital transformation and see, sometimes people confuse digital transformation with innovation. Now, what do you think those two are like? How they are different and how they are related to each other?
So innovation to me is uncharted territory. It's usually something that's never been done before, or it's a unique combination of products or services that turn it into something new. It can be a part of digital transformation, but it is not the same as digital transformation. So often digital transformation involves implementing a new piece of technology, reimagining how a company does business. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's innovating. It means it's leveraging new and emerging technology to operate more efficiently and streamline productivity, improve efficiency. So that's the difference to me. And innovation historically has a very high failure rate because it is something new. So actually, I will reframe that. I'd like to call it a learning rate, because just because something doesn't work, it doesn't mean it's a complete failure, right? Like Thomas Edison, he created the light bulb after 1,000 failed attempts. So that's the distinction.
It's a great analogy, and I think in our case as well, we often find like this problem where when we are trying to do the innovative solution, sometimes the solution doesn't work or it's not financially viable to do it as a product, and people take it as a failure. That okay, the project failed. It's not the project. It's actually like the innovation takes iteration, and a lot of businesses do fail to recognize that fact, which is very important. And you touched it right at the point. Thanks.
I'd like to lead the question into outsourcing, because I guess the question or the answer that Friska mentioned about innovation, the difference between innovation and digital transformation. I think it's definitely something that I would like to know from Cara and Friska. What's your thoughts about outsourcing it, or it to be outsourced versus having internal?
Yeah, Belinda, so it's Cara here. Maybe I can start with that. I really like the way that Friska described the difference that she sees between innovation and digital transformation. And I might like to offer my own perspective on that and then refer to the outsourcing question. I do think that there is a difference between innovation and digital transformation, where on one hand, they're intertwined because we need to be able to be creative and innovative as we are transforming and going through that process. And on the other hand, innovation in itself is something that has the most application and success when it is being applied and even commercialized. So to have a whole lot of innovation, but not to be able to commercialize that or turn it into a product or into a solution or a way that it can be applied, really renders that innovation in itself not as useful as it has the potential to be. So I think it's important that we do see that it's sort of that trigger that can help us to be more creative and have an opportunity to experiment with what we're working on. But it's important to notice and to know where the innovation needs to actually thrive by applying it to a business process or to a challenge in order to actually make it work. I think on the outsourcing piece, I've had a lot of experience with what do you outsource, and I think there's a common line of belief, which is you can't outsource creativity. And I'm not sure I fully believe in that, because there are a tremendous amount of very creative people in the world. But I think where that comment comes from really is to say the individuals who know their business best should have the ability to create a culture of creativity and innovation that they can manage on their own. I think fresh new ideas from an external or outsourced perspective are really important. And that just goes to adding to the diversity of our thought and the way that we can look at the agility that's needed when we're innovating and being creative. So I think actually a blend is interesting and important. Earlier in the days when I was in more CIO IT related roles, the type of outsourcing we would do would be in the infrastructure of the organization, or in services that would be more repeatable or standardized, whereas the creativity we kept closer to our core. And I do see, as I say, that blend happening more and more now, where the outsourcing of the creative piece of innovation is something that really can be done in a collaborative way. And I think you do spark new ideas by being able to collaborate in that way. So I do think it's important to look at that. We want to have a culture of experimentation. I think that even Friska referred to that. And also to be able to be agile. And if that enables us to embrace both that experimentation and agility, then I think you're going to be going in the right direction.
Thanks, Cara. For me, there's certain, signals, signs that indicate when it's time you should outsource some particular tasks within your business. The first is obvious: you can't keep up the demand. So if sales are swift and orders are stacking up, the pressure to get things out quickly and efficiently is fierce. This could be a point, especially if you don't have enough time and funds to hire in-house experts. It seems nowadays everyone is so busy. People are expected to do more with less, unfortunately. I mean, we've all seen the layoffs that are happening all around the world. So people are performing multiple roles. So it sounds like you're saving money, but the amount of time it takes for them to kind of, when they're multitasking, to stop, regain their focus, and actually execute the task at hand with high performance is actually really, really high. So that could be another one. Mistakes. If mistakes are costing you too much, daily tasks, critical goals, it could be a major source of revenue leaks. For example, impulsive purchasing of technology that doesn't deliver ROI, hiring the wrong candidate. These sort of mistakes actually end up costing a significant amount of revenue over the course of time. Most people in my network have said their budgets are being slashed. So this means hiring freezes. That's always going to be more expensive. And it's not just their salary, but when you factor in vacation, sick leave, infrastructure, outsourcing could be a better option. When you really can't find the right talent, if you're limited to who you know in your geography, in your sphere of influence, maybe the right person doesn't even exist in your country. And then last but not least, you actually realize that by paying someone else to do that work, you can actually save time and money, and that'll free you up to do more value-adding tasks. So when I was in very large companies in corporate, we didn't outsource. We actually chose a different option, and that is offshoring. So with outsourcing, you relegate a particular task or a function in your business, for example, your payroll. Maybe that's outsourced to the Philippines. Now, the challenge with outsourcing is that outsourcing company may have multiple clients on the go, so you are not given first priority. So a second option is to be offshoring, which means you maintain control of the people, of the processes, of the SLAs, etc. It does come at a higher cost because you have to set up an offshore facility, but that could be a really good plan B.
Yeah, a lot of that you mentioned is so true. There's a lot's going on internally, and I think a lot of people I find and has seen in companies are definitely looking to hire outsourced talent more than ever, because there's so many talented people out there that are doing a lot of consultancy work, or there's a lot of options to be able to scale things faster when doing outsourced work, in my experience, for sure. I'd love to just mention halfway through, we're about 5:30 at the moment, and I did say that we're going to ask some questions. So if anybody would like to ask any questions, can you please raise your hand, and then I'll start bringing people up to the stage to ask any questions to Cara or Friska, or myself or Prashant. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, can you please raise your hand now? In the meantime, I'll get Prashant to continue asking the questions to Friska and Cara. And again, please feel free, Friska and Cara, if there's anything that you would like to mention on stage, please feel free to do that as well.
Thanks, B. So one, the people are raising their hand. So I want to ask Cara, with so much technology evolving at such a fast rate, and there's always a new shiny toy to chase, how do company balance between like what they need to do with the current operation versus how quickly they should be changing? Or is there a balance, or is there a right way to adapt that digital transformation as a culture or anything to get the best out of it?
Yeah, thanks, Prashant. So absolutely, right. So the technology is evolving faster than we can imagine. And I think there are some things that are really important to consider in the space of business and this transformation. How do you align what you're doing across your organization? And I really do believe in the mindset of the leadership of the organization. I think that this is a little bit of a sandwich where you need not only everyone in your organization to have a digital mindset, but certainly the leadership needs to have a digital mindset. I think there are certain things that you can't delegate. So you can't delegate having a digital mindset to everybody else and be the leader of an organization who doesn't believe in it or doesn't have a vision for it. So I do think it's important to, first of all, lead from the top in the sense of defining clear goals and objectives for the organization. So when you have a roadmap that demonstrates the vision that you have and can really help point everyone in a similar or same direction, then at least we have everyone working towards the same end. And I think that's it's really important upfront to start with the alignment at the top. Oftentimes, when I step into the C-suite and I'm working with clients, it quickly becomes apparent that they don't even have a common definition of what does digital transformation mean for us. And if you start to question every different role, you can ask the CMO, the CTO, the CIO, the finance CFO, and they all are looking from their own perspective, and they'll all each offer their own definition. And what is interesting is to have a conversation to align them on, well, as an organization, where do we need to go with this transformation? How does each role in each area of the organization benefit from that? And so really being able to assess the capabilities that you have in your organization and the processes, knowing what you have, but also what you don't have. Is this going to require us upskilling our organization and helping individuals become more digitally literate? What are the capabilities we have in place today that and where are the improvements that might be needing to be made for the technology and the tools that we need to support these goals? So I think as a starting point, these are really essential to doing a fair assessment of where you are and what is required from skilling to tooling and the rest of the technology enablers that you have. I think you also have to be thinking about your culture of innovation. So we've talked about that a little bit here already today. So when you can foster a culture of experimentation, of innovation, enabling employees to take risks, and that's something that I know a lot of organizations are afraid of. But how do you actually embrace the change? And of course, Friska is someone who's an expert in that area here. I think that's really important for us to ensure that in the organization, that people can feel open to the new ideas, being able to adapt to new technologies and processes. And something I like to call this mindset is being a learn-it-all. So when you can be a learn-it-all instead of being a know-it-all, then you stay curious, you stay open, you want to experiment. You're able to take those risks because you're trying new things. And I think, as we talked about here already today, we're in this space where we simply have to try. We have to experiment, and along with that is going to come the possibility that you'll fail. And they say it's not the number of times you fail, but the number of times you stand back up. And I think it's really important to really nurture and create that culture of innovation. To get your stakeholders, your employees, everybody on the journey with you. So let me leave it there, because I think those are some areas that I would start with. So those are really the starting blocks in terms of aligning the opportunity of innovation across your business and your organization.
Thank you so much. Friska, your views on that?
Yeah, what can I say? Cara's already given quite an extensive overview. Totally agree with what she said. I'm often asked, what role does culture and leadership play in successful digital transformation initiatives? And the answer is, it is everything. It is the main root of failure and the main cause of success. If you read about case studies of digital transformation initiatives that have gone to the corporate graveyard, i.e., they've never seen the light of day, you'll notice a trend. And the trend is, the failure is never about the technology. It's about the people. Because you see, people won't play in an experiment with something new and foreign if it's not part of their cultural DNA. If they see their leaders doing the same thing every single day. So I've been in many command and control, ultra-conservative organizations where, someone from the board or the CEO, reads a paper and says, oh my God, we have to innovate. All right, innovation is now one of our core values. However, there's been history, years and years of organizational legacy where you are not rewarded for innovating. So no one dares to innovate for as long as they remember, because they are shot in the head for getting it wrong. So it's a known cultural trait that hard results, cash, hours, productivity is what's rewarded. So this is not, as we've discussed already, this isn't in alignment with innovation, where if you're trying something new, hey, sometimes it won't work. And this is where we really need our leaders to normalize failure. We need to reframe failure as feedback, right? Culture takes years to shift. However, that shift can be a lot faster if the leaders embody the culture they want. If they really want to be innovative, then they need to change everybody's KPIs. People need to be rewarded just for making the attempt at trying something new, not just delivering the same old thing using the same old processes. They need to be rewarded and incentivized for giving it a go, not just when it works, but for actually giving it a go. So leaders have a significant role to play. They need to walk the talk and role model the change that they want to see. And unfortunately, this doesn't occur very often. It's usually very short term. For example, at the previous organization that I was head of change, we actually won awards for innovation. Game Changer of the Year, AFI Innovation Award, Collaboration Award. It didn't last long. It lasted maybe 9 months. And it's because you cannot disband a change effort too early, right? You need to keep pushing, because you are changing the status quo. And that doesn't happen in mere months. But what happens in traditional organizations that are solely focused on cost and not growth and innovation, they cut the project early. But this is the equivalent of, say, for example, you break a china bowl and then you super glue it back together. And then before the super glue has given a chance to take hold, you immediately use it to serve yourself hot soup. What happens? You are going to get burned. And this is exactly what happens in an organization. They haven't given that innovation glue to set, take hold, and really solidify and lift the rest of the organization. So I see this time and time again. Change doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen by accident. It happens with investment, with time, with intention, and with discipline. But very far and few have what it takes to see it through.
So much for that. I think we have a question from the audience. I'm gonna bring her to the stage. Hi, Maria. Do you want to ask your question?
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you, Cara, and all of you, Friska as well, for providing so many useful insights. Like, it was actually from the beginning my question, because I got the position as a CIO at the real estate company. So I have a very practical question, like from the ideation stage and like first stage, when you are talking to stakeholders, when you are delivering this vision, and this is a process, right? So you can't deliver everything, like as you said, like cost of innovation and all these details from the beginning, at the beginning of the process. And what would be your let's say example or a piece of advice, like how to start communicating with stakeholders when they are not that into innovations and technology, let's say from the perspective like AI, Web3, blockchain technologies, and how to make this smooth, like to work, to be on the same page from the beginning of the project, like if my question is clear.
Yep, that's clear. I'll take it first. Thanks so much for your question. This kind of brings back my mining days, because that's exactly where we were. We were starting an innovation arm, and when I came on board, they had already started establishing an innovation framework, etc., but they weren't getting the buy-in and the traction with their leaders. And they were all tech people, very skilled, solution architects, etc. And you asked, how do you communicate this with stakeholders? The first point of call is language, right? Everybody on this call is interested in technology. Often your key stakeholders don't even have that common language. And when they don't have that common language, they will not want to ask you any questions, because no one wants to look stupid. So first of all would be establishing a glossary, common terms of reference, somehow establishing a common language with your stakeholders. So I'm not sure if your stakeholders are business stakeholders, executive stakeholders, or other tech people, but that's really important. So the words you use, and reducing the amount of jargon as much as possible. And instead of talking about tools, solutions, speeds and feeds, talk about outcomes. talk about outcomes, talk about results, talk about capabilities, because that's the sort of language that resonates in a boardroom. Second tip I wanted to make is that a picture paints 1,000 words. So when I was at that big mining company, they were struggling to get budget for their innovation initiatives. They just kept on getting shot down every time they put their hand up to us for funding. And I said, okay, show me what you're doing to get this funding. And I nearly fell over when they literally opened an Excel spreadsheet that was full of numbers and gobbledygook. And I said, are you serious? Is this what you're presenting? And they said, yes. So I threw that out completely. And instead, I used pictures. So instead of saying, describing the solution, how much it'll cost, what it enables, I mapped each of those digital solutions to something that the business was very familiar with, and that is the mining value chain. So extraction, processing, leaching, storing, drilling. So all these words, CEOs understand these words because that was the particular industry that they were from. So I urge you to consider you doing something like that. You said you were in the property industry, real estate industry, map it to whatever value chain that the leaders are already familiar with, because then it'll be a lot easier to sell. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, hi, Maria, it's Cara here. So Friska, those are beautiful examples. And I was also reflecting on an experience that I had when I was with Shell. And I wanted to share that as a short story to you, Maria, because I think it really demonstrates also the different approaches that at least I had taken at that point in time. So when I joined Shell, I was with the company about 12 years. And the first task that they asked me to come in to do was to digitize the offshore community, because they felt that was going to not only increase the efficiency of the operations, but also, they said to me, this is going to save lives. And I thought, whoa, that's a really big mission statement that you're giving me. How do we save lives by digitizing the offshore assets? And one of the first things that I needed to do was to familiarize myself with the environment. And so to do so and to kind of get your ticket to learn more about that offshore environment, needed to do the Hewitt training. So that's the helicopter underwater evacuation training. So I could get my wings to fly to the different offshore assets and start to learn what kind of technologies they already had. And as one thing led to the next, I really, by going and seeing, so, a lean technique, of course, by going and seeing the environment and really leaning in to ask the questions about what the technology was that they were using, what did work and what did not work for them. What I quickly learned was a few things. Number one, by digitizing the environment, yes, we probably could improve very well the efficiency of the offshore production community. However, this link to saving lives was not as apparent to me as what the leadership at the time said, this is what you're going to need to go and do. What I recognized really quickly, and so this is a little bit of having that vision, thinking outside the box of where are the injuries really coming from? So where are we killing people? Where are we injuring and hurting people in this industry? And at the time, it was actually the data of the HSE community, that's the health, safety and environment community, was showing us that it was not in just being at the offshore environment, but it was actually getting to the environment. And so helicopter crashes, truck accidents, train crashes, there were different incidents and accidents happening in the logistics of transporting people back and forth. So I had about 600 men that I was flying offshore every 3 weeks to do a rotation of living and working offshore. And it was in that process that actually we were hurting, injuring, and killing more people. So by learning about that kind of missing piece of information, what I proposed back to the leadership after doing this assessment was we needed to take a two-phase process. Number one is, yes, we're going to digitize this environment because we want to know the sand throughput. We want to know the temperature readings. We want to know what the rate of hydrocarbon exchange is and so on. But number two is we're going to start to demand this environment. And so the transformation that started to unroll for us was quite significant for the organization because it was something that meant I'm not going to fly 600 men offshore every 3 weeks anymore. I might be flying maybe 100 or 80 maximum, because what we're going to do is create a mirrored environment on the beach in a safety zone where people didn't have to travel by helicopter and so far going 200 kilometers off the coastline to these offshore assets. But we first did need to create a baseline. We needed to digitize the environment. I think where the challenge, as we've talked about quite a bit in today's episodes, I think the challenge for us and for me in leading this transformation came in the culture, because I had all of these big burly guys with hands the size of shovels basically saying to me, wait a minute, Cara, you're telling me that I'm not going to use my hands to turn these big cranks anymore, but I have to push this little button on a keypad? And I said, yes, that's the transformation we're going through. And it took me going back out to each of the assets and running what we call these toolbox sessions, which meant that we literally sat with our bums on the pipelines and we had talks with the guys. And the fundamental question that I asked them was, what is it that you're afraid of that's going to change for you now? And what do I need to do to help you to go through this transformation? And the response that surprised me the most was that they said, look, Cara, by doing this transformation and telling us that most of us have to stay on the beach and can't fly out here anymore, you're killing our brotherhood. And I thought, whoa, if this is sort of the, and this is over months and months of conversations, that this was kind of the conclusion. How can we recreate this feeling of your brotherhood on the beach? And so what we started to do together was, I literally made the canteen of the remote operating control center. So it was an ROCC strategy, remote operating control centers. I made the canteen feel like an offshore environment. They were allowed to hang pictures and posters that they wanted. We created the sessions that they would have like it felt sitting on the pipelines together. So trying to recreate a feeling like they were offshore while they were safely on the beach. And all of that was an effort which was really about listening to the people in the organization, because my promise to them was two things. Number one, I want to keep you safe and on the beach so that you can go home to your families every night. And number two, I want to upskill you and give you these digital skills, because nobody knows this environment better than you do. I want you to have the digital skills so that you can have a career here with this company far into the future. And I think that, with that as the agreement, that was our handshake. And we created the environments on the beach. We helped to upskill them, and we saw the safety numbers going down, which was a good thing, because that meant that we were killing, harming, and injuring less people year on year on year. This was a 5-year-long strategy that I executed, and we implemented 3 remote operating control centers around the world, in the Gulf of Mexico, off of the coast of Brunei, and here in Europe on the coast of Norway and Stavanger. And so I hope maybe by sharing that story with you, Maria, that helps you also to get a sense of also what that might entail. Going and seeing the environment, listening to your organization carefully, really asking the questions of what can I do for you that's going to help you to go on this journey with me, and then obviously sticking to your promises and seeing it through.
So true. Thank you so much. Thanks, Maria, for the questions. I have another person with the question. Can you, your name comes as Innocent K, so I don't know, but can you ask your question? Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for hosting this meeting. One question I had is that it's more of a broad question. As companies continue to undergo transformation, there is a growing need to identify new roles and skills which are required to drive these changes and to prepare the workforce accordingly. So what I'm trying to the question is, what are specific job functions and skills will be needed to lead the organization to digital transformation efforts within the organization, and also how can the companies develop training and reskilling programs to ensure that employees have necessary skills and knowledge to succeed in these roles.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. So this is Cara. I want to answer actually with one word. I had the opportunity to sit down with Satya Nadella, the CEO for Microsoft, during my years of working there. And he was asked a very similar question about what is it that we should all be studying in order to be exceptional in, the space of technology. And his simple answer was, he said, study ethics. And so I know you're looking for a hugely technology related answer, but actually, the CEO for Microsoft is saying, let's learn about ethics, because just because we have access to the technology does not necessarily mean that we should be using it in certain ways. And when we have a baseline and a fundamental understanding from an ethical perspective of what is good, what is right to do, I think it starts there with the mindset. I think I'm going to just leave it with that simple answer. I know it's not fully answering your question currently, but I would really like to leave it with that, with ethics.
Thanks, Cara. And I loved your examples with Shell. So I also worked at Shell and I have fond memories of it. So that's quite an achievement and a significant behavioral change you led there. Thanks for your question, Innocent. So I'm going to take a bit of a different skew. I think the main trends for me are the core skills required to enable a successful digital transformation. First is managing change, without a doubt. It's a core unit in many of the top MBA schools, and it's a hot topic in boardrooms and meeting rooms throughout the world. The ability to manage change, to support entire workforces through change, whether they're distributed, different ethnicities, different cultures, different geographies, and how do you ensure you have a strong governance in place to enable that to happen is very, very important. In terms of technical skills, cybersecurity and data analytics, it seems like nearly every second day there's a headline about some data leak or whatever. So cybersecurity, it's an old saying now that data is the new oil, but it certainly is. So data analytics and data management is a hot one. For me, and then it would be digital marketing, because everybody now, whether they're an individual, a solopreneur, or a big global business, has a digital footprint. So how to leverage and build a cohesive omni-channel experience to not just attract customers, but attract the right people, attract the best people. And we're in a very competitive global war for talent now. So how do we use our digital footprint to act like a magnet for the people that we want within our business? And last but not least, leadership. So leadership in a digital transformation agenda. This means you are open to change. This means you are co-creative. This means you are democratic. So, the leadership of yesterday, where it's command and control management by walking around, it doesn't work anymore. Especially now, we still haven't gone back to the office full time. So how do you lead people that you've never met in real life? So that is a hot skill. So those are my top 5.
Friska, I want to just add to this. I think these are fantastic examples. And if I can complement what you've just shared with us, I might also add to your list agile skills. So being able to operate agilely in the environment and really adopting these changing market conditions and customer needs at a rapid pace. Also in terms of increased collaboration, I think this is a skill where we can't operate in isolation anymore. We really need to collaborate both internally across the organization and externally, whether it's outsourced, offshored, wherever we go. But increased collaboration, I think, is also really critical to that. And when we're empowering the workforce, this technology landscape, you've given a couple of fantastic examples, but I'd like to include also the mobile technologies, automation, of course, as we've discussed today, and AI with machine learning, as well as immersive technologies. I think the landscape of immersive technology is something that we need to really embrace and learn more and more about as well as we adopt these changes.
Thank you so much, Cara and Friska. Did that answer your question for you? Oh, he's just jumped off.
I just accidentally moved him.
All good. I just wanted to double check. Is that all good? Did that answer your question for you?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for really breaking it down, and thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your question. I just wanted to wrap up the session. We've got a few more minutes left. I just wanted to thank again Friska and Cara for jumping up on stage again, second time round, lucky, and taking the time out to answer the questions and obviously the questions we had on stage. I really appreciate these sessions so much. I love giving light to LinkedIn and understanding the technology space more and more and having people like you on stage. We really appreciate your time, Friska and Cara. So thank you so much once again for jumping up on stage with us. I also wanted to give the chance to Friska and Cara, just for the few minutes we do have left, if you would like to leave some information for people where they can find you. If they have any questions, can they reach out? Or is there any kind of last sentence you would like to leave with us today?
Thanks, B. If you haven't already, you can follow me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Friska. My website is freshbyfriska.com. So if you follow me on those channels, you'll be kept up to date with any new offerings and creations that I'm working on. Thanks.
Yep, and thanks very much again, Belinda and Prashant. Same for me. LinkedIn is my business card. Best way to find me, and please link up with me. I think I'm the only Cara Antoine on LinkedIn in that order. So if you find Antoine Cara, that's a famous drummer. So go for me. So looking forward to linking up with you if you haven't already done so. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for jumping up on stage. I really appreciate it. Bye.
Bye now.
Everyone, bye.